Okay, good morning. Good morning, committee. We are here this morning. Thank you, first off, for being a few minutes early. I appreciate that. We are picking up on the hunger thread that we were listening to yesterday, and we're going to hear from Hunger Free Vermont this morning. And remembering just this is trying to help inform our budget discussions that we will. Okay. Will you send him a text or an email? Yeah. Yes. Good morning. Anyways, sorry, I had a moment there. Honore, the floor is yours. And do we have any written material from you? Is there something on our webpage?
No, I did not submit any written material ahead of time. I would be happy to submit anything that I have to share with you if you think it would be helpful after my testimony, but I'm not sure that it's necessary. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much then. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, thank you so much. For the record, I am Honore Horton, and I am the Executive Director of Hunger Free Vermont. And I'd like to thank you, Madam Chair, and the committee for inviting me as a representative of Hunger Free Vermont to come and speak to you about what, from the food security perspective, what are some of our priorities that we would hope that this committee would include in your budget letter. But I would also like to say that I'm here. I can't help but be here for this conversation as a couple of other parts of myself. In addition to being the executive director of Hunger Free Vermont, I'm also the volunteer vice president of the board of directors for the Community of Vermont Elders.
Okay.
And I'm also the only child of a 77-year-old mother who is here in Vermont and is, struggling to hold on to her own decent quality of life here in Vermont as she ages, while she's also one of the home-based care providers. She works for another Vermonter who is trying to stay in her home while she is aging and struggling with dementia. And I'm working full-time, and I'm also going over to my mom's every night after work and helping her do things she can't do for herself, and trying to make sure I go to doctor's appointments with her as much as possible, because no one should have to deal with chronic health conditions and doctors by themselves. And while my mom wants to work, and it really matters to her to be making a difference for someone in her community by being a companion and helping someone stay safe in their home, she also has to work, because even with housing support and financial support from me and my spouse, she struggles to cover all of her basic expenses for medical care and car insurance and all the things that she needs to continue to be a productive person in her community. And so I know, I'm just sharing this story with you. I know this isn't the first story like this that your committee has heard. And I'm sharing it because I just know that my story is typical of what many, many families in Vermont are facing. And if I didn't have a full-time job and a good paying job, then I'm not sure what my family would do and how I could help my mom through some of this. So I just feel that I need to share kind of a little more of myself here with the committee this morning, as a way of jumping off into these recommendations that I have. So thank you for that opportunity. And I know that yesterday you did hear testimony about the importance of Three Squares Vermont, the end of the emergency allotments. And so I think I won't, unless you want me to say more about that, I think I won't repeat that, because I don't want to take the committee's time when it isn't necessary. But if you have more questions about that, after I just jump into some of my recommendations, then of course I'm happy to respond to those. Does that sound good to you, Madam Chair?
That does. Thank you.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, very good.
I feel like we did get a good sense of what that's going to mean to Vermonters.
Okay, excellent. All right, so I'm just going to jump straight to my recommendations and then happy to answer any questions. So the top of our list is support for H109. That is to provide additional funding for the nutrition programs that serve older Vermonters and Vermonters with disabilities. So these include home delivered meal programs like Meals on Wheels, of course, and community and congregate meals. Again, I'll just repeat a statistic I'm sure that you've already heard, which is that at least 15% of our older Vermonters are experiencing food insecurity. And these are folks who really depend on being able to have access to prepared, nutritious meals. So that is a key priority for Hunger Free Vermont. Another key priority is to support the Vermont Food Bank's $3 million base funding request to purchase food and to support community partners. It's really important that our emergency and charitable food system is able to respond because, as you heard yesterday, there's increased need, and we are really concerned that that is going to dramatically expand after the emergency allotments end in March, and there's really not a federally funded program that to make up that difference. So we won't be able to address all of the lost emergency allotment food support, but we need to do what we can as collectively. Then I also have some recommendations that are not directly, exactly tied to food access and food security, and yet they really are. So one of those is to support H93 and H94. So these are the bills that are proposing to move Reach Up benefits in Vermont closer to covering the actual cost of basic needs for Vermont's lowest income families with children. And of course, when Reach Up families have a benefit level that better covers their basic needs, that makes it possible for them to not have to cut back on the one part of low-income people's budgets that they have control over, and that is the quantity and quality of food that they buy for themselves and their family. And so we are, Hunger Free Vermont is a member of the Reach Up Coalition, and we strongly support these steps represented in H93 and H94. And then in addition, we also strongly support more fully funding home and community-based services and long-term care providers. Adequate nutrition is one of the critical preventative services that lets people stay in their homes, that prevents people from having chronic medical conditions that have them end up in emergency rooms and cost them and our state, in so many ways, financial, but just being one of them. And it's just one of the critical services that the system of home and community-based and long-term care providers provide. And they often provide those services, and the nutrition, the food services are often provided by different federal nutrition programs. And of course, in addition to community-based food programs. And again, with the emergency allotments for Three Squares Vermont ending, that whole kind of calculus is going to get more challenging. So we know that the current system for all of these services has been dramatically underfunded for decades. And we also know that Vermont is the second oldest state in the country. And so we need to increase our funding to help people be able to meet their basic needs and stay in their homes in a safe way, in a healthy way, as we all are aging here in our beloved state of Vermont. So I really appreciate all of you on this committee for taking the time to listen to Hunger Free Vermont's perspective and a little bit of my personal perspective on as you deliberate around your budget letter. And I'm happy to answer any additional questions or provide any additional detail that you might like. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Horton, for being here and for sharing some of your personal circumstances that I think, many of us resonate with in terms of where our feeling fortunate enough to be able to help our family if we're able to, and understanding that there are many, many people who are not in that same situation who need our assistance to have basic nutrition and housing and just a place that they can call their own and feel part of the community. So we always appreciate it when people share feel comfortable enough to share their personal stories, because it helps to put the face to the problems that we try to have some impact on here. So, and additionally, for your work with Hunger Free Vermont in terms of raising the awareness of all Vermonters to the fact that we have many people in our state who are hungry and are hungry every day. And so the work that you do to raise awareness about that is really, really important. So thank you very much. And I know we had some communications back and forth about older Vermonters and hunger and previously. So of course I was glad to see, the top of your list being H109. Representative Noyes. Yeah, Representative Noyes, in fact, is very happy about that.
Thank you so much, Representative Noyes, for introducing that bill. And we're really proud to be a member of the Older Vermonter Nutrition Coalition and work closely in partnership with all of the amazing organizations that focus their work on older Vermonters. So,
thanks.
I do have a question. Yeah, go ahead.
So yesterday in committee, we heard about the SNAP benefits dropping off. And I was wondering what your perspective is on H94 and 93. I think they both might apply as maybe helping fill the gap of the drop off. If we were to increase those reach up benefits, how do you feel that would impact lower income families to have access to food as the SNAP benefits begin to fall off?
Yes, that's a great question, and I think that H93 and H94 will have a important positive impact for the particular group of really it's parents with children in Vermont who are really some of our lowest income families who qualify for Reach Up, because every single one of those families they also qualify for and they are enrolled in Three Squares Vermont. And so those families are part of the 41,000 families in our state who are going to experience after March a decline in their Three Squares Vermont benefits. And so by bolstering Reach Up benefits, you are directly going to be helping those families, weather this loss of food support with funding that they are going to be able to use to continue to be able to buy the food they need and healthier, more expensive food that they need to, take care of themselves and take care of their kids. So I do think that these bills could not be more timely.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments for our witness? Thank you, Ms. Horton, for being here and being here at this time of day and getting us before the floor. So really appreciate you being able to kind of arrange your schedule so that we were able to hear from you this morning.
It's my pleasure. I'm sorry I could not be with you all in person. Please drive carefully home tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Take care.
All righty. Okay, committee. We don't have anything else before the floor. Just to let you know, right after the floor, we're hearing from Arlene Donovan, who's the Director of Legislative Human Resources, just so you can put a face and a name together, and she can describe a little bit about what they do and what they don't do, probably, as well. We're also going to be hearing about Vermont Legal Aid's budget request in terms of how they support Vermonters in this state. They do a wide variety of things, frankly, and I'm not really sure they get all the credit that they deserve in terms of what they do. And then, as you've seen in the card room, it's Housing and Conservation Coalition Day, and we will be hearing from a group of folks at 11 a.m. about that. And then we are back at our favorite topic of the week in markup on 171 after lunch, but I promise not to keep you too long if we can just at least get an hour or so in on that. And by that time, the ice will have melted and everybody will be safer driving home. And that's what the rest of the day looks like. I do want to give you a heads up about budget stuff. I'll be forwarding you the memo that we got from appropriations, and is that to me? Okay, thank you. The memo we got from appropriations, it has form attached to it. It has the language. And we are going to set aside some time next week. So you should be starting to wrap up your discussions and, fact finding with, various members of the administration and whatever advocates that you have spoken with. And be prepared later next week. You'll see, I can't remember, I think it's on Thursday. Yeah. Thursday at 1, we're going to hear from you about what your recommendations are. You don't have to have like your formal thing, but because I already know from talking with all of you at various points that our list is going to be rather long because there were many things left out of the governor's budget that we consider to be critical, that we are going to have to put some level of prioritization, and we need to have a discussion about how we're going to do that. I am still committed to presenting all of the need to appropriations, but we will have to sort of highlight, and we talked earlier about having some idea of the number of people that we're impacting, having an understanding. All of what we've been doing and hearing from people is having an understanding of what happens if we don't do some things. So, whether we're talking about the residential care and, or we're talking about hunger, or we're talking about housing, or we're talking about juvenile justice, there's just a long list of things that we need to consider, and we'll have to sort of organize our thoughts to be able to present them well to appropriation so that they understand the need that's there, and that we get we represent that well, which I feel confident that we will, because we do good work here. The other thing, if you take a look at the Senate's version of BAA, you'll see that pretty much everything that we wanted is there, and then a little bit more. There was language on CIS that is deleted. I don't know if it'll make its way back in. And I know Taylor is working on the $2 million that maybe we would like to see go to HOP.
Grant.
Is that right? Are you working on that, Jubilee, too?
Yes.
Okay.
We're working around our options.
Okay. That also is something that we can have a chat about. So, anyways, it felt good to see our priorities recognized in the BAA. And then if we continue to do representing Vermonters in that way, I hope that our priorities will be well represented in the 24 budget as well. So for now, that's it. We'll see you on the floor. We have third reading on H-190. You did an awesome job yesterday. I'm like, when they asked the question, how many other states? I'm thinking like, I was looking around. I was like, where's that note? She had it right there.
So smooth.
Yeah, I know. It was so smooth. I was just like, yes, of course. There are 10 other states. So